What if two fathers gave you completely opposite advice about money? One tells you go to school, get good grades, find a secure job, and work hard. The other tells you learn how money works, buy assets, and make money work for you. Which father would you follow? That is the central idea behind one of the best-selling personal finance books of all time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. In today's video, we'll explore the foundation of the entire book, the difference between the mindset of Rich Dad and Poor Dad, and by the end, you may start looking at money in a completely different way. Robert Kiyosaki grew up with two father figures. His poor dad was his biological father. He was highly educated, held advanced degrees, worked hard, and believed in traditional success. His rich dad was the father of his best friend. He had little formal education, but became one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. Both men were intelligent, both worked hard, both loved their families. Yet one struggled financially throughout his life, while the other built substantial wealth. Why? Because they thought differently about money. Poor dad often said, "I can't afford it." Rich dad never allowed those words. Instead, he asked, "How can I afford it?" At first glance, the difference seems small. But rich dad believed that saying, "I can't afford it," shuts down your brain. Asking, "How can I afford it?" forces your brain to search for solutions. One mindset creates limitations, the other creates possibilities. And according to Kiyosaki, wealth begins with the questions you ask yourself. Poor dad believed that security came from a good job. Rich dad believed that true freedom comes from owning assets that generate income. Most people spend their lives working for money. They wake up, go to work, pay bills, and repeat the cycle. Rich dad called this the rat race. The wealthy focus on escaping that cycle by building investments, businesses, and assets that produce cash flow even when they are not working. This idea becomes the foundation of the entire book. One of the most controversial ideas in the book is that schools teach people how to work for money, but rarely teach them how money actually works. Kiyosaki argues that many highly educated people struggle financially because they never learn financial literacy. They learn math, they learn science, they learn history, but they never learn investing, taxes, cash flow, or wealth building. Rich dad believed financial education was just as important as academic education. Poor dad often said, "I'll never be rich." Rich dad always referred to himself as rich even when he faced financial setbacks. He believed there was a difference between being broke and being poor. Being broke is temporary. Being poor is a mindset. This doesn't mean positive thinking alone creates wealth, but it does mean that the beliefs you repeat to yourself every day influence the actions you take, and your actions shape your financial future. The most important lesson from this first part of the book is not about investing. It's not about real estate, and it's not about stocks. It's about your mindset. That is the fundamental key to wealth. Before you can build wealth, you must change the way you think about money. The difference between rich dad and poor dad wasn't intelligence, it wasn't education, it wasn't luck. It was the way they viewed money, opportunity, risk, and responsibility. So ask yourself, when it comes to money, whose voice are you listening to? The voice that says, "Play it safe," or the voice that asks, "How can I make this possible?" That simple difference may determine your financial future. In the next episode, we'll dive into one of the most famous concepts from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the rat race, and why millions of people stay trapped in it for their entire lives. If you enjoyed this summary, subscribe to Wealth, Wisdom, Strength for more lessons from the world's greatest books on wealth, success, and personal growth. Remember, read less, learn more, grow faster.